Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting Driven Hunter podcast brought to you by Mission Crossbows. Today I got a pretty special guest with me, and this lady has worn me out the last couple days turkey hunting. You'll tell by her accent she's not from Minnesota, but I got Mary O'Neill Phillips from Country Outdoors, one of the most popular podcasts out there right now, and also a very exciting new live show on the Outdoor Channel, which we're going to get into and talk a little bit about. But hey, welcome to Minnesota.
Thank you. G'day, everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks, Pat.
I love that accent.
Thank
That's
you.
Pretty cool.
I usually say that I'm from South Alabama.
Everybody buys it, right?
Yeah, they do actually. A lot of people do.
And people buy my Minnesota accent like, yeah, I'm not from Alabama either.
No, I'm just glad you didn't say I was from New Zealand. So,
Well, you are from Australia.
Yes.
And I want to hear about your background. I mean, we've hunted in Australia a couple different times. One of my favorite hunts of all time to go over there and hunt water buffalo.
Yep.
And the people, I mean, I guess that's why I like you so much. Is the people are so nice over there.
thanks.
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Mary's here because we invited them down with our good friend Mitch Petrie. They came down and have done, they're on a turkey tour that is covering all over the Grand Slam, right? You're covering all the species,
Yep.
and you've been on the road since when?
February.
What?
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm about ready to get home and get settled in.
You look a little tired. I'm a little tired.
It's been a lot. There's been a lot of birds that have gone down, but the turkey tour, we started in Florida and COVID hit straight away.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a sponsor with Gander RV, so we were able to social distance the entire time out of our camper. So that really saved us, and we've just been loving being in the outdoors and hunting turkeys, hunting in the snow, hunting in the rain, hunting 100 degrees in orange groves. It's been awesome.
You've really got to see a lot of cool places and meet some really cool people, and you've told me a few of those stories. It's amazing. That's what the fun, of what we do is. It's really what it's all about, is getting to meet new people and experience. I hope you take away that we're all right after you leave Minnesota.
Yeah, you're all right, but your turkeys are really annoying.
Yeah.
They have not been cooperating.
Yeah, we had 2 days ago, we were on a gobbler, and he was not reading the script.
No, he just wanted us to come in. Spoiled.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He wasn't very eager to come and
Die.
I guess we didn't sound sexy enough.
No, that's right.
Maybe we should have let you do the calling, and Zach, your husband, and I were doing the calling, and she was on the gun, and she's like, she said a few nice words at the end, like, I hate your turkeys. Yeah,
I do. I hate them. And actually, I can call, but I have a tendency to call in Jakes. I'm like the Jake whisperer.
They taste just as good.
I have no problem with shooting a Jake. I will say that 100 times over. Zach, on the other hand, he doesn't let me. But if I'm hunting by myself, I'm like, whatever, you're going to die. So.
Now, Mary and Nicole did a cooking segment today, so they started pretty early. So you didn't hunt with us this morning. So I went out with her husband, Zach, and we got out there, and it was rainy, windy, just terrible turkey hunting conditions, and we actually thought about not going and decided, heck, it's our last day, let's go for it. So we got out there right at first light, and we knew it was just going to be a challenge to even hear a gobble, let alone get a gobbler to come in. And we got up on top of this ridge, and we stopped, and we sat there and listened for a little bit. All of a sudden, we heard one sound off. We're like, oh, hey, that's a plus.
Yeah.
We're one step ahead of what we thought, and then we dropped down, went around, and got kind of in position to where we thought he was at, and made a few calls. I hit the flex zone call, and nothing. And I'm like, come on. And then we walked kind of around the corner because I thought maybe he couldn't hear us. And sure enough, we got around the corner, and he just gave us a courtesy gobble. Like, oh,
yes.
And he was close. So we just got down real quick, and it was funny because Zach goes to get the camera out, and I'm going to film Zach, for their turkey tour. And he hands me the camera. He goes, oh, no. And I'm like, what? And he goes, there's no card in the camera. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no, Mitch's son was kind of playing around with our camera yesterday,
Yeah.
and he must have taken some footage of it and then took the card out and never put it back in. And like now we're hooped. We're sitting out there going, now what do we do? And Turkey's just, he's tearing it up. I'm like, that's enough of that. Let's go kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Sometimes.
Sometimes you just got to do that. So, I mean, it's the end of the season. We're like, let's go. And we just got around a little closer, made a few more calls, and
Awesome. Did he do his little giggle? That's what he does. Every time he shoots one, he goes,
No, I didn't hear
He
that.
didn't do it?
I'm afraid to do it.
I'm going to have to show you some of our tour. That's it. It's so goofy.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably both get on each other's nerves.
Oh, yeah.
Living in a motorhome, if you were at the Driven headquarters right now, you would see that they have this brand new Chevy truck, which is not really that new.
It's got 305,000 miles on it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You call it old shitty?
We call it Old Shitty, which is not, we can't say that obviously on the show, but we call it Old Faithful on the show, or Old White, but it's actually called Old Shitty.
Yeah.
And no, that truck has been great. This is the second single season slam we've done in that truck. And obviously Zach had it before I even came along. He got it, I think, when he was like 17 or something like that. I don't know. It's like a 2014 Chevy.
He probably did some parking with some girls before you came along in that truck.
You don't need to tell me that. I already know that. Bloody heck. He has had a friend shoot it with a gun. They've shot it with a bow fishing bow. That truck has oh my gosh, you should have seen my face when he had to go to the Gander RV dealership to pick it up. Like, the people were like, you're not leaving with this 2020 camper. No, it was a struggle. We had to make a few phone calls to the headquarters.
Usually people pull that kind of camper with a really nice looking truck, and they're like, man, this guy's gonna go and pedal our camper, probably sell it.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? It's lasted. We've only had 2 flat tires and had to change the oil. I mean, that's a solid truck. And for me, I'm all about the old, that's loyalty right there. That's a faithful truck.
No,
Love it.
there's nothing, you can't kill a Chevy. That's for sure. But so you started in Florida. Mm-hmm. And that was early on. And see, we hunt Florida all the time, and we love going there.
Orange
and we were, our bags were packed this year, and we were getting on an airplane on a certain morning, and the night before, all this stuff just collapsed, and the governor shut down the state, and pretty much our flights got canceled, and there was no way outside of driving from Minnesota all the way to Florida, and I made that drive once. There was no way, and Nicole's like, hey, why don't we take the bus? I'm like, with a 4-year-old and a wife that does not drive it, I said, forget it. We're staying home. We're just gonna hunt turkeys in Minnesota. So, what was your favorite experiences on this big turkey tour, which is also, we'll talk about where it's been airing and how it's you're delivering the content right away to the viewers. But where's your favorite place you're going?
Look, the orange groves in Florida for my Osceola has got to be one of the top ones, because that was something that I wanted to do and I hadn't done it yet. But my first Osceola I killed was kind of more in the swampy style, bit of the sand and all of that, but it wasn't in the groves. And so I really wanted to try and shoot a bird in the groves, and it's just so cool. When you get down to Florida, you really feel like spring is starting. It's, the warmth, it's the perfect time of year to be down there. And how pretty is that? You're literally sitting under an orange tree.
I love the smell of it.
Oh, it's so cool.
The smell is overwhelming to be in an orange grove.
It's, so that for sure. And, of a daytime, we'd head to the markets and get fresh coconuts and all of this stuff. So it's
fresh produce when we're sick of it up here.
Yeah, it's just, so that was really cool. I bow hunted for the first time in Kansas. I'd never bow hunted a turkey before, and I found that challenging, so I really enjoyed that.
Did you get one?
Yeah, I got one, and I wasn't in a blind. I was up against a tree, and two gobblers and 4 jakes came in, so that was challenging just to get drawn back without, them seeing me. And so I felt like that was an accomplishment after that. It made me feel good. And then one of my very top ones was down in Georgia, in Adel, Georgia. It was just this super misty morning, and we'd set up, and the gobbler was literally like in the tree 20 yards away, and he flew straight down into the mist and then just started strutting straight away. And it was like the drumming and the walking through the mist. It was so cinematic. It was like Pirates of the Caribbean, like the dead pirates walking through the mist. And I was like, this is so cool.
You did show me a little, like, that clip of that footage is amazing.
And he fell backwards too, which was sick. I showed him and he did like a backflip, and I was like, wow, it's so cool.
You gotta love this girl. I mean, you look at the enthusiasm that for hunting, and I gotta say that I'm quite impressed after spending some time in the field with you. You are the real deal, and you meet there's a lot of women now in this sport or in this industry, and it's cool to see somebody like you and to hear your backstory. Tell me a little bit about your backstory and how you came all the way from Australia, and you are, traveling the country, doing this country music stuff and doing all this stuff in the outdoors and kind of bringing it all together. Give me a quick overview of like your background and how you even got here, and then I want to hear more about this country outdoors stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I think like it's really a God thing. You think that you have a plan for yourself, and it just ends up being so much better than anything you ever thought.
Yeah.
So my background was in acting, and I thought I would end up on a stage in LA, and I moved to LA, and I lasted 3 months and just hated it. Like, it just was not the place for me. I couldn't find good friends, and I just thought the place was going to change me as a person if I stayed living there. And I really knew that. It was like, I now say I know that God was like sending me a message. But I had been to Nashville, and I love country music. Growing up, my family have a small cattle farm outside of Sydney. And so I spent every weekend as a kid there, and that's where we go. Like, when I'm home, that's where I am, riding motorbikes and all of that. And and I didn't hunt in Australia, actually. I had an ex-boyfriend who hunted, and he wouldn't take me out. And so sucked into you, because now I've killed a way bigger deer than you. And
hey, buddy, I don't know who you are, but yeah, you did mess up on this
Loser.
one.
Anyway,
I think we just lost a fan in Australia somewhere. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just future hint, guys. Don't ever tell a girl that she doesn't belong in the in hunting or in the outdoors.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much a buzzkill.
She'll do everything that she can to prove you wrong. And anyway, so I went back home, and I just saw that there was a market for there to be a female Australian presenter and country music host. There wasn't a single one working in the United States. And I was like, well, I'm going to be the first one to do it then.
Like, I can do this.
And of course, my family thought I was nuts and said a lot of things that really, like, it was like squashing.
Yeah.
Like, your family can be the toughest on you, like.
Well, they care. They want you to not fail at something.
Oh, they just don't want you to move to the other side of the world.
And have babies.
Yeah, exactly. So I would save up all my money, and I would fly every 3 months over to Nashville and interview anyone who would take an interview with me, and I would just have it edited and put it up onto a website, and just started slowly creating this platform, hoping someone would see it. And eventually I got hired by the Country Music Channel in Australia to be their red carpet host for the International Awards. So I was doing live red carpet interviews with all these big artists from America, like Jason Aldean and Kip Moore and Kelsey Ballerini and all Drake White and all these guys. And so that happened over like a 3-year period of me flying back and forth from Australia to Nashville. It was like a hard slug. I had no money. At one point I was so poor that I was eating jerky on bread for like 3 weeks, and that's all I ate, because I was putting all my money into production. Yeah. And I was just like, this is the price that you have to pay. Like,
that's a cool story.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems like everybody that has been successful has a backstory similar in some respects, because then they work that much harder at being successful. So, here you are just grinding it out, doing anything you can, and you're still doing that. That's what I'm most impressed. I mean, you're when you came in here, you were doing this live thing, which we're going to get into. and like you were hunting the next day or constantly, doing social media posts and stuff. You got a lot going on.
Well, my thing was like I had seen my parents were like, in the same jobs for 30, 40 years and good on them. Like they are stickers and like thank God they did that because I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I had growing up. But for me, I just always saw that like you can actually enjoy what you do for a living.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. I want to enjoy work and I want to use like what God has given me as my talent for a living. And so anyway, like a couple of years into that, and I meet my husband, Zach, and he said, do you want to go turkey hunting? And I was like, yes, finally. And we went out to Nebraska with him and one of his mates. And I shot my first bird. Well, actually, I missed the first one. I hadn't even shot a shotgun at this stage, right? And Zach's like, all right, so we're just going to belly crawl out here and there's two toms and they're going to come in. And I was like, belly crawl? Like I had no bloody idea what I was doing. And his mate was like, don't you think she should shoot some tin cans or something first? And he was like, nah, she'll be all right. So we belly crawl out and these two gobblers come running at me and I was just crapping myself. I didn't even know what to do. And he's like, shoot them. And I'm like, what? Shoot where? And so we had a big fight and I said some really unpleasant words and I said, I'm never doing this with you again. Well, 30 minutes later, I was doing it again.
Yeah.
And what was so cool, this is my first turkey hunt, the boys called in 2 toms from 500 yards away over the sandhills in Nebraska.
That's cool.
I was like, this is like exists. People do this. It was so cool.
It hooked you, right?
And I shot the bird at like 5 yards. I was behind this mound and I just popped up and shot him. And I was like the biggest adrenaline rush. And I was like, this is sick. I want to do this every day of my life.
That's cool.
So then after that I was hooked and it just, I got my first bow and all of that. And I love bow hunting. And so the country outdoors thing started. So
give us a little background because I know you got a lot going on, and you have the Country Outdoors brand, which you're a host of. There's a couple different things that go on with that. So, yeah, kind of explain to the viewers, like, what, and the fans, what's going on with that, how they can follow, and all this stuff about why it's so cool. And I don't want to spill the surprise.
So, like, once my outdoor passions just grew to, like, being my life, I was like, I just want to encourage more people to do this. Like, this exists. Like, everyone should be doing this. This is great. And I said to Zach, I was like, my next goal is to just create something where it brings country music and the outdoors together because they just go so hand in hand. Like, right. And there are so many stories to be told there. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I had no bloody idea if it was going to be a show or what. And I didn't really even know how to go about it. Well, then I met Mitch Petrie, who is the head of programming for Outdoor Sportsman's Group. And I don't even remember how I met Mitch, but like he had been following me and had seen a bunch of my interviews and red carpet interviews and stuff like that at the CMA Awards. And he reached out to me and he said, look, I've got this idea about this podcast I want to do, Country Outdoors, like interviewing country music artists about their outdoor passions. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I thought you'd be a really good co-host. And I was like, are you crapping me? That's the best. Like I was freaking out.
You love that accent, I think.
Yeah, I was dying.
And the look, yeah.
I was like, this is really cool. Well, like it really was self-started by him and I because, people have to see a product before they buy it. Like they're not going to believe in it. And so Mitch and I had, some connections in Nashville and he did too. And so we just did like a season 1 sizzle but we had like Tyler Farr on it. We had John Langston, Dylan Scott, like all these really big artists. And so
you interviewed them on a podcast.
Yeah, so we actually interviewed them at the CMA Festival in Nashville. We had a media room there and we had them all come through and we were so, I think they were just so excited to get to talk about like their outdoor passions that they just all jumped on board. And like, thank God they did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
In the old days they might not have did that, but now it's
like there's something in the air where like people are just over all the BS and like having to be so political about everything. And because my original goal was to host for CMT. And then when I found out how liberal they were, I was like, oh, this is never going to happen. I'm going to have to hide who I am. And so this started and it was like, I can tell for these artists, they feel liberated about it too, because they're like, I'm not hiding this anymore. And so that's really cool. And actually Tyler Farr and a lot of them spoke about that on there. Yeah, he's just like very outspoken.
We've known him for a long period of time and knew him when he was in kind of starting his career. And he was at a hunting show and we hung out, and he's just a ordinary guy, but has a real passion for hunting. And there's a ton of others, that love hunting too. So, do you have a favorite that you've interviewed so far?
I really enjoyed chatting with Megan Patrick. She's a Canadian country singer, and she's going out with Mitchell Tenpenny, who's like quite a big artist at the moment. Yeah. She's gonna pop. She's major. So cool, but she has got like a giant white tattooed on her arm, and she got into hunting later as well, and she's just so outspoken, and so that was really cool. If you haven't listened to that, go and check it out.
She's pretty cool. I'll have to check
She's really badass, yeah. And her and I have the same opinion about influencers, hunting influencers, and so we spoke about that on the podcast, and what kind of women we want to encourage getting into the outdoors, and so that was cool to have another female thinking the same way as me, and like sick
an
of
authentic one.
Yeah, and sick of seeing all the crap of girls sitting on a cooler in camo with like their tits out, and it just makes the rest of us look so bad. And
I couldn't agree more.
Just makes us have to work double to be taken seriously.
Right.
And I loved him as well. And all of them really. They've all been
like
Riley Green. Riley Green was cool because when we interviewed him, I Wish Grandpa's Never Died had just hit number 1.
Oh, that's an awesome song.
Oh, the best. And that guy, if you're not following him on Instagram, he slayed the deer last year. Like, oh my gosh.
I seen that.
Yeah.
He's the real deal, and man, he's got a big career in front of him.
Oh my goodness.
He's just skyrocketing upwards.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, back in the day, I remembered there was a couple that I really remember vividly. We were at SHOT Show and we hung out with Blake Shelton, and he was just starting his career, and he was just, hanging with the rest of us hunting guys. And, now look at where he is. And then one time I was in Buffalo Wild Wings. I walked in, and the Robertsons were sitting at a table, and we went up and we were talking to them, and there was a guy sitting there. I didn't recognize him, and I said, he turns and he said, "Hey," he says, "Pat Reeve," and I'm like, "Hi," and I didn't know if it was just somebody that was a fan of theirs or what. He goes, "Luke," and I like, "Hi, Luke," and he goes, "Luke Bryan," and I'm like, "Hi, Pat Reeve," and I did. Swear to God, true story. I'm like, yeah, now I would probably figure out who that was. But
that's so good. Yeah. That's funny. The girl, Kaylee Hammock, who we had on the TV show, which I'll tell you guys about in a minute, she said that she was encouraged to move to Nashville by Luke Bryan. But the story behind it is really funny. So Luke Bryan's from like the same town as her in Georgia, and his mom must have worked at like the courthouse or something, and her mom went in there with the girl and said, "Do you think you could like get us some advice on what she should do with her career and all of this?" And the mom said, "I'm going to call Luke up and ask him and all of this." Well, anyway, the Kaylee and her family are all gardening, and I guess she was in a bit of a bad mood that day, and she gets a call, and it's like, "Hey, Kaylee, this is Luke." And she was like, "Luke who? There's like 30 Lukes in this town." Like, just giving so much attitude. And he's like, "Luke Bryan." And she's like, "Oh, crap."
I think I'll quit gardening for a second.
Yeah, and then, So, well, what I like about Blake Shelton, like you said before, he's got Gwen Stefani wearing camo. Like, that's so cool.
No doubt.
Like, she didn't even sing country music prior to this, and he's converted her. So I'm like all about that relationship.
Right.
I think that's really cool.
He's been a big supporter of hunting and everything. I mean, there's tons. I mean, you could go all the way back to like John Anderson days and Hank Williams Jr. Yeah, he was over hunting with where I started in Buffalo County, Wisconsin at Bluff Country Outfitters with Tom Interbo. He came up and hunted a couple years back, and
Johnny Cash hunted too.
people just can't believe that Hank Williams Jr. was hunting there. 'Cause,
Yeah.
It's neat to see that the country artists, I mean, they're just ordinary people that just have a God gift to sing.
Right.
And such an awesome talent. And they got a voice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is what is so cool about what you're doing. Tell us this, how in this country outdoors, I mean, you told us kind of how it got started.
Yep.
But now it's just kind of mushroomed like into now a live program that includes the country music artists and some of your turkey tour. Give us a little bit of what's happening with the live. This is a very first live show
Yep.
that the Outdoor Channel has ever had. It's on Friday nights, right? And you were hosting it. Tell us about that.
So yeah, the whole thing is kind of like snowballed now. It's becoming a real brand. And so the TV show is the first live televised event that the network has done. And so the premise really started because of all this COVID stuff. You know, the artists can't be touring. We can't be going to concerts, but like people want to be entertained still. So it's a live show. The artists, so we've got Jordan Davis on this week, and Jordan Davis has got like big song, Take It From Me, If You Want a T-Shirt. Just, like, he's got a whole bunch of big songs on the radio.
You should probably, let's hear a little bit more.
I suck. Anyway, I realized I was really sucked when I moved to Nashville because I thought I could
That's why
carry
you're
a tune.
interviewing singers and not singing yourself.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I'm mediocre on the guitar too. But yeah, so we've got these artists on. They play 4 songs and they tell us some stories like how they got into the outdoors, what their favorite memory is. But what's really, really cool is fans can actually tweet, text in live and ask the artist a question.
Oh, really?
So it's
That's cool.
Yeah, it really brings people, like the artist is coming from their lounge room. So you're sitting in your lounge room watching the artist in their lounge room and you can text in a live question. I think it's so cool.
How do you do that? I mean, if so, give me the times, and also how does somebody engage and how do they text?
So you can, it's on, the show is on at 7 p.m. Fridays Eastern for 30 minutes. And then following that is a Facebook live show because we call it the after party. The 30-minute TV show goes so quick that, we want to keep it on. And so people have an opportunity to chat with them even more and find out even more. So we do it can go as long as we choose for the live show to go for, the Facebook Live. But yeah, you can tweet in, you can Instagram in, all through Outdoor Channel. So you just head on over there and you can have to hashtag country outdoors. But yeah.
That's really cool. I was here when you did yours on Friday, which was live here in our studio, which is cool. Thank you for the little side promotion. And you were interviewing
Travis Denning. Yeah,
he seemed pretty cool.
He's really cool. He's a Georgia boy. His parents actually came on the after party, so that was really funny. And his dad is a big time hunter. He got into hunting later, but now it's really cool because it's like their thing. Yeah. When he's back at home, like they go hunting together. And his dad was a big fan of the Outdoor Channel, and he was sitting upstairs watching the live show and just loving it. But yeah, no, Travis Denning's got like some major songs rising on the charts at the moment, and he just released his EP Beers Better Cold, which I couldn't agree more. But yeah, no, and so we've got Jordan Davis on this week, and then we have Brandon Lay on the week after that. But what we're really hoping, I think, to do is to turn it into a live show in Nashville. That's like
that's your goal.
That's my goal, yeah.
And you guys are living in Nashville now?
Yep, so we're living in Nashville, and my co-host is Nick Hoffman from Nick's Wild Ride.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicky.
Yeah, Nicky.
We go way back. You need to just prank him every chance you got. He's the funniest to prank. I mean, he's the best.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's so gullible. You get him every time.
That's awesome.
And we remember our little prank we talked about. And we're not going to spill the beans.
No.
But make sure you try to film that. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I know.
Has something to do with. Well, I ain't gonna say. I can't.
I don't even think we can describe it, or people will think that we're totally bonkers.
Oh my gosh. We had a couple of beers the other night. We got in like some pretty in-depth discussions and plotting and stuff like that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Man, we've had such a great time this week.
Yeah.
It's been a joy to have you and get to know you and your husband, and you know, I know you're wrapping up the tour and gonna go home and rest and you know get back into a normal routine, which is just welcome to our world too. It's just crazy how time flies and you're just so caught up, and like you said, things just escalate and mushroom. But man, it's so cool to see and hear your backstory and to see you representing women in this, you know, arena and being authentic. And I know Nicole really enjoyed having you here and hanging out and spending time and,
it's awesome.
you know, getting out there and chasing gobblers around. And I hope, you know, there's some other young female watching right now that is inspired by you. I'm sure there will be. And I'm sure you'll inspire many more. So thank you so much for doing that just for our sport, for sure. I mean, that's the coolest part. I mean, what's on the plate for this fall? Do you got anything planned? And you could kind of talking about some other kind of tours coming up.
Yeah, I think, you know, we'll just, as much opportunity arises, we'll be out there. I'm ready to get stuck back into some fishing after this, for sure. But for fall, I put in for Kansas. So I killed a big buck there last year, bow hunting, and so hopefully have some nice opportunity. Again, Zach killed like a 175-inch deer, so that was his biggest deer, and he was stoked about that. I put in for Wyoming for elk, so if I draw that, I mean, that's who doesn't want to hunt elk? This will be my first time hunting elk. So
that's like a turkey on steroids with like large antlers.
Yeah.
If you elk hunt and you call like you do and hunt turkeys, you're going to be like insanely hooked.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be on like this elk tour.
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm never going to get a chance to, you know, like with you ever again.
Well,
you won't even have time to interview anybody, but just
Well, no, with this live show, we've been doing the interviews all remote. I just had to find enough service to be able to get on.
And that's a challenge.
Yeah, that has definitely been a challenge. But yeah, and then Zach's family have a farm in Missouri, and, you know, they get some decent bucks and stuff in there too. So there, and then Zach's put in for Iowa. And yeah, so I'm sure we'll be plenty busy. There's some big deer in Tennessee too. So I'm hoping I can get some sort of a hookup there, schmooze with a couple of these artists maybe.
Yeah, and it'll be so cool to see after this COVID stuff is gone, you bring in some of them artists into your tour scene and doing more than just interviewing them, hunting with them and stuff like that. It'll be fun to watch that progression and how this grows. And we're just excited to help endorse it and to promote it because, like I said, I got a chance the other day firsthand to watch it, and I thought that was so cool. I'm like, hey, Mary, let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
It was really my wife pushing it. She was like, Nicole, it's like, you got to do a podcast with her because she's so interesting and you have such a cool backstory.
Thank you.
I mean, it's so inspiring. So, I want to thank you again, and I want to, you know, wish you safe travels back home and much success in the next couple years doing this stuff. So.
Yeah, we've only got like 20 hours or something until we get to Tennessee, so
right.
Now the slog starts.
If you guys get a chance, check out Mary's stuff and Country Outdoors on Friday nights on the Outdoor Channel. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Come back to
Thanks
Minnesota
so
anytime.
I will, just to use this sound room.
I'm gonna right. Yeah, you can come and do a live event here anytime. Just make sure you bring a couple female country artists that I'm kind of have a particular crush on.
Okay. Yeah, I think you'd like Megan Patrick.
Right.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you so much.